All right, hello everyone. Welcome back once again. I'm Nicodemus Kane. Today is July the 22nd of 2022. It's a Friday. I think it's a Friday. Is it a Friday? Yeah, it's Friday. All right. I had to look. Again, the days blend together. It's the way the system was made, is that the days all blend together and you just don't know what day it is anymore. Today we're going to read Isaiah 19. I was going to go back and do a restudy on Isaiah 18. I actually found a guy on BitChute that is doing a study on Isaiah right now, as a matter of fact. And I think he's on Isaiah 19. But what he's doing is he's retranslating between several different translations. He's retranslating what he thinks Isaiah actually means. So I went back through his videos and I looked at Isaiah 18, and he seemed to think that Isaiah 18 was about America, which was extremely similar to what we were kind of talking about yesterday. That it was a land shadowing with wings beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Of course, he considered the term rivers as the ocean. Let me see if I can find it, because the way he did it was very similar to what we were saying. Beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Now, if you look up river, it's stream, rivers, streams. It's not a body of water. But he was talking about it being a reference to a large body of water. But he was going through it. It took me a second to hear other things that he had to say and to think about it, to really think about it, meditate on what it was. And I chose not to listen to him. Mostly because he is a Mormon. He was talking about how what's the guy's name? John Smith? Is that his name? I can't remember his name. How he was a prophet and all this stuff. And I was like, well, okay. There's your sign, I guess. Now, there's some people out there that will, they will ask the question, why won't you believe that? Why would you immediately shut somebody down because they don't blah, blah, blah? And it's like, well, because Mormonism, especially the way that it's put together, it changes the rules. It changes the Bible. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've done this whole Bible culture thing with these what do you want to call them, apostate teachers, I guess, the ones that want to add to what's there. And what they do is they get in there and they change very slight things. And back when I was looking into it, Because again, I haven't been there for a while. I haven't really thought about it. I haven't really had any reason to go back to it anytime since. But they wind up changing some of the core beliefs. And that's not the way. That's not the way to go. So I ruled it out. I ruled it out. He said some interesting things about Isaiah 18, and I was going to get into it. I was like, oh yeah, man, that's cool, But you have to go through. You have to check. You have to check this stuff. You have to vet these people. Vet me, please, by all means. I say it a million times. I'm not perfect. Check me. Check my sources. Check what I have. Okay, here's another one. Here's another one for you. This guy, another one of those ways that you could be able to know that maybe we shouldn't be. I don't want to say maybe we shouldn't be listening to him, but maybe we should be vetting him a little bit more than what it is. So his translation, he wrote a book about it. I can't remember the name of the book now. I'm not going to go into any more of it and give him any more credit than he should get. But he wrote a book about the translation of Isaiah, the entirety of Isaiah. He wrote a book about it. And he himself said, and I quote, "I consider this the best translation of Isaiah that you can buy for your money." And it was a lot of, if you want the full story, read the book. Buy the book, read the book, if you want the full story. One of those types of things. And it was enough to turn me off, just one of those types of deals. Just the whole package didn't work. So somebody somewhere is going to listen to him, and they're going to get truth and meaning and understanding and whatever the heck they're going to get out of it, and that's awesome. That's great for them. But for us, for what it was, again, I was going to go back to Isaiah 18 with different eyes, but I was like, no. Again, though, he thought it was America. I was still saying Egypt, but on the same token, it kind of works both ways. Again, it kind of works both ways. Something interesting he did say. Now, I will give him some credit for this. That second verse, that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters. So ambassadors are messengers, envoys. By the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon waters. Now, vessels could mean boats, but it's way down at the bottom. Other ones are utensils, articles, implements. They send ambassadors by the sea, even in implements, tools of bulrushes. But there's one for boats way down at the bottom. So, but he mentioned something about that, and the translation comes out as ambassadors is a message by the sea in a paper, in a document of bulrushes, which is a document written on reeds upon the waters. Now, he was taking that as a democracy. I don't know. Looking back on it now, I was starstruck at first, but whenever I really started reading it and understanding it, I was like, no, it wasn't. I don't know why I'm bringing it up. I don't know why I'm giving it any more thought other than that. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention because, again, it was a word that I missed. But I still think that I still think that we're doing okay. I just for what it was, again, for what it was yesterday, I heard it and I thought there was something that I missed, and I really started listening to it, and it was great. But then I started checking on his background a little bit, and like I said, there was enough red flags for me to stop and think, whoa. It's what you got to do. You got to do your due diligence. You have to watch out for this kind of stuff. And I'm not picking on anybody particular. You want to be Mormon, you go right ahead, but you make sure that you understand where it's coming from, what your belief system actually is, how your current teachings line up with what was already written. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. Maybe look into who your founders actually were. Same thing goes for like Jehovah's Witnesses. Just remember, Jehovah's Witnesses, if you are a part of the Jehovah's Witnesses and you have your teachers telling you that you can only understand the Bible through somebody else, you just remember that God told you in the Bible itself, if you actually have a real Bible, that you don't need an intermediary. You just remember that. You keep that in mind. Also, the thing about the taste of the marshmallows being bland. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. Anyways, just be sure you understand what you're getting into, man. So sadly, I don't have... Hold on. I don't have any tissues up here anymore. My box ran out yesterday, so I'm having to use this Kleenex sitting up here from yesterday. It sucks. I have to go back down and grab some tissues. As soon as I hit record, I looked down and I was like, oh man. You guys know how my nose runs, so yippee. Anyways, let's go through Isaiah 19. There's some interesting stuff in here. As we read through it, there are two things that we need to remember on this. Or at least keep in the back of our head. Okay? The first is, America may be Egypt. And again, when I say that, it's a speculation. We can't prove that 100%. But there's enough connections between America and Egypt to kind of stop and ask the questions. You know, why are there so many Egyptian art? What was his name? I just saw his name yesterday. The guy I was talking about yesterday that was talking about he was talking about Egypt, and he's talking about all those things, and I said that he was going out interviewing people. Oh man, I just saw his name. I found him after all of that. It did not start with an M. I'm an idiot. It was way down towards the bottom. Terry Carter is this name. This is a guy that goes out and he interviews these people and he talks to these people about things that they found. He's on to like Spanish treasure right now, which is weird, whatever. But that's cool. That's what he's doing. That's fine. But then he was doing an interview with a guy called Harry Hubbard. I don't know anything about this guy yet. I'm still going to have to. I'm still going to have to vet this guy out a little bit. But he's a guy that actually goes out, marks off these places, and tapes it all, videotapes it all, tapes all of these things that they found. Does lectures, little things like that. But he was talking about Egyptian cities in the Grand Canyon, which is what we were talking about yesterday, about how they found these caves and all of these Egyptian artifacts. And I can't remember the original guy's actual name. He took the tour down the Colorado River and found these caves and did the whole thing where they found the caves, and then the Smithsonian came in and took it all away. I can't remember the guy's name at all, but this is one of those guys, that goes out and searches for this stuff. And he was saying that there was another person that had gone out there and had found this area that looked like a city on one of the flat areas. Now, I'm saying, like some other people are saying, the tips where the tops of the peaks of some of the rock formations of the actual canyon itself are named after places in Egypt, of gods of Egypt, of temples. What we're saying is these things were covered up by mud, and they were, the whole place was flooded at one point in time, enough so that it covered this whole area up with rock and mud, that these things became rock. They became mountains. It solidified, and these things got buried. But now they're starting to weather back down to where you can actually start seeing shapes. We're not saying it's true. We're just saying that it looks like it. And it's very interesting that they call these things that. There was a picture. Let's see if I can find it. Sphinx, Grand Canyon. There is a rock formation on the top of one of the hills that looks like a sphinx. Now, I'm not going to say that it's true. I'm not going to say that it's real. I'm just going to say that it looks like a thing, And you got to think, you take that and you put it through a couple 100 years of weathering, and anything's possible. Hell, man. I mean, these things were everywhere. They very easily could have been all over the world. And the only ones that survived were the ones in Egypt, because those were the only ones that didn't get wet. When rock gets wet, it gets weathered. When it's buried in sand, it doesn't weather. They stay pretty well. There's something called an old sphinx head at Petrified Forests National Monument in Arizona. That's different. Anyways, I can't find a good picture of this. There's a couple different things, but it's not. Of course, as soon as I get into this, there's a creationism in the Grand Canyon. Yes, it's very easy for the Grand Canyon to be created, especially if you see, the thing with people, again, is a lot of people don't seem to understand the concept that It doesn't take millions and millions of years to make a fossil. It only really takes a couple weeks. That we're finding out that they're having rock formations build up inside of basement bunkers, underground bunkers that were only built in the 1960s. They're finding out that there's what was the one that what was that? I know there was one they said in Australia that they built, and it had a ladder that went down into the sewers or went down into a building. They found out that it had a leak in the door or something, and it had been dripping, slowly but constantly for the past 40 years. And when they finally went back down in there, because they never had to go back down into the basement, they went down into the basement. They found out that the entirety of the ladder was encased, most of the entirety of the ladder was encased in rock. And they could not explain it. They absolutely could not explain it at all. Because that's not what was supposed to happen, but it was just hard, solidified rock that was encased around this ladder. What was it? The boot that they found. The boot that was made in 1930 that still had a human foot inside of it. And the boot and the foot itself had been fossilized. There's a guy in Russia, supposedly, that can fossilize anything you want. All he needs is the money to be able to do it and a couple weeks. He takes it out to a stream, a certain kind of stream. It's got, sediments that run through it. He puts it inside of this stream, leaves it there for a couple weeks, comes back, picks it up, and the thing's hard as a rock. They have teddy bears that this guy has done, where he's put half of the bear in and half of the bear out, and, when he takes it back out, it's like the half of the bear is solidified with rock. I don't know if that's true or not. I'd love to see that. That sounds amazing. But it doesn't take millions of years to make a fossil. It only takes, at best, a couple months. Well, at best, a couple weeks. But we're finding out more and more that, you only really need a good flow of water that has sediments running through it. And it just builds, and it builds and builds and builds. It's amazing. We learn that stuff in high school. That, sediments in flowing rock will build up over time. You learn that in high school, but you don't really think about it. And then you have real world proof that with enough time and enough water and enough sediments, you can create mountains. Or you can create hard rock layers. So, yes, it's extremely easy for the Grand Canyons to be made through creationism. Jeez. You don't need millions of years to be able to make something like that. You just need, a worldwide flood and just a massive amount of sediment, which would have immediately popped up because the fountains of the deep would have opened up and released all that dirt and sand and stuff that came out of the bottom of the fountains. Yeah, it's amazing how your Bible is a better science book than any science book we have. You have to do millions and millions of years in order to be able to figure out what they tell you in the real world. But Bible already tells you how the Grand Canyon was made. It was a flood and pressure. It was water, pressure, and sediment. All three of those things were talked about right in Genesis, like the first couple pages. Well, no, not the first couple pages. It's, you know what I mean, after the flood. We should read. We should read. We should read before I start putting my foot in my mouth again. Anyways. All right. So let's do this. Chapter 19. Let me see if I can blow my nose so that we don't have any problems while I do this. All right. Woke up this morning and my nose just felt full. You know how that is. And no matter how much you blow, you just can't get rid of that feeling. That's where I am right now. Chapter 19. Now remember, like I said, there's a couple different ways to take this. The first one being that America is Egypt. And then I got on this long tirade about, finding the Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon, finding these pyramids, the pyramids of Illinois, all these other places where they find artifacts. That the Americas could be Egypt. The second way of looking at this could be this whole millennial reign thing. Now, America doesn't have to be Egypt. Egypt could very well be Egypt that we see over at the tip of Africa. Could very well be. It's entirely possible. Now, these are end-time prophecies that Isaiah is saying. So we've talked about this, and it does not have to be true. We're still trying to find this out. It is interesting, though, that some of the things that kind of line up and work with this, the 1,000 years reign of Christ that may have already happened, they line up pretty well with what the Bible says. Now, again, there's things I've said before, there are things that we have not seen or have not been talked about, have not been spoken about. But that doesn't mean they didn't happen. 2 witnesses could have very easily have come 1,000 years ago. We just missed it because we weren't there. We didn't know. No one's talked about it. But we do know that something happened. Something big happened that caused a lot of people to forget a lot of stuff. And depending on who you listen to now, because apparently there's a lot of people out there that like to go upon the notion that Tartaria was not as good a place as everybody says it was. But then there are other people that say, no, there was a pretty good place. These were people that were, not only did they have all this technology and all this understanding, but they all lived in peace, and they practiced these, very ethical teachings. Or they practiced this life of being almost Christian to a point. I don't know. I'm still, it looks like it goes both ways. I don't know. There's a lot of the Tartaria stuff we don't know yet, but something happened. So I don't know. I can't say for 100%. Either way, if you want to take it as it is, take it as it is. If you think that this stuff is coming at a point later, then that's cool. If you think that it's coming, after us or soon, you could take it like that. It could very well be Egypt itself, even though Egypt right now is pretty well downtrodden. Egypt is not really like a world player, America's kind of a world player, and you can kind of see that as we read this. So just think about that. Just kind of put that together. Just remember that Egypt never really went away. Rome never really went away. the stuff is still there. We still have all of these landmarks, and I don't want to say philosophies, but we have these, what's the word I'm looking for? These markers set out in the world that show us that Egypt never really went away, and the people that run this world seem like they still follow Egypt. The obelisks and the eagles and the statues and the everything. These people still follow Egypt. They still follow the old gods. So we may not be Egypt 100%, but I'll tell you what, they're still following in the old Egyptian ways. So keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that is what it is. It's an interesting puzzle piece to put in there. And maybe we ought to start looking into that. I don't know. So chapter 19, Isaiah 19. Let me make sure before I even start if we're still good. Yeah, we're still good. All right. And again, if I need to stop, I will stop. Talk about something. This one is kind of a long one too, isn't it? Well, we'll get through it. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. All right. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come unto Egypt. Now again, the Lord rideth on a swift cloud. Christ will be coming on a cloud in the sky. On a horse, no less. The Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Now again, you can put it into what has happened before, you can put it into what is happening now, and you can put it into what is going to happen in the future. And you can kind of see the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. We have ruins everywhere, Egyptian ruins everywhere. We have idols everywhere now. Who knows how many more idols we'll have in the future? But there's 3 different ways of looking at this. And it kind of works all 3 ways. It's very, very weird how this works. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Sounds like a civil war to me. And they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. It sounds like America right now. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. Now, as far as that's concerned, the charmers and the familiar spirits and the wizards and the idols, if things, I can see that happening in the past. Okay, fine. If that happens now, I can see that happening too. Is that they will pray to anything but God in order to save their lives. You got to remember, and it says in the end that the men will run to the mountains and ask the mountains to fall on top of them in order to protect them. They will flee to the mountains. So I can very well see that these people will seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to the wizards. So many wizards. So many wizards out in the world right now. It's just absurd. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. The river, the one river, not just the Nile. Could be the Nile, could be the Mississippi. We don't know. I kind of was glancing through this earlier, and I read that line, and the first thing I thought of was, it's interesting that, and the next line too has something to do with it. That in all these post-apocalyptic movies you ever see, it's always the rivers dry up. Everywhere you look, it's always the waters go away, the rivers dry up, there's no water, there's nothing. And these people are struggling to survive. And that was the first thing I thought of, was the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. The next line too, like I said, and they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. So that's just all the water just goes away. So let's talk about this for a second. At one point in time, they say that Egypt was what we know as Egypt. The sand. They said that it was a beautiful, lush paradise, a garden. That it was actually a place where people could live. Every History Channel, everything says that. It's just over time, the environment changed for whatever reason. They'd probably blame it on climate change for all we know. But it changed to a point to where it's now just sand, and there's nothing. They said that the Nile itself could very well have been far bigger than it was. But that, again, it dried up. You talk about the Colorado River. You talk about places like that. It dried up. Again, you're moving monuments out of their places. You're drying up rivers. You're taking all these things away. Is it possible? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. That has to do with what's in the past. What's in the present is that we have a river that runs through America. We have the Mississippi River. It has 7 tributaries that go into it. Where 5 of those tributaries hit is a little town called Cairo, Illinois. 4 years ago, is it 4 years ago or 5 years ago? I think it's 5 years ago now. 5 years ago, we had a solar eclipse that made a line right across the entirety of the United States of America. In 2 years, we have another one that's going to cross the other way. The center point of that X falls right over the top of Cairo, Illinois. They say, this is them, they say that earthquakes tend to follow eclipses because, the moon causes, the gravity of the moon causes the earth to, pull and shake, and so it's entirely possible that there could be earthquakes. So there actually is a fault line that runs right through the middle of Illinois, or right through the middle of the plains. Let me see. I used to know the name of it. Earthquake, New Madrid, that's what it is. It's a 150-mile long fault zone spanning 4 states in the Midwestern United States. The New Madrid fault line, the New Madrid seismic zone, excuse me, because we have to rename everything now, apparently. Well, it's Newspeak, brother. What do you want? But it lies within the central Mississippi Valley, extending from northeast Arkansas through southeast Missouri, western Tennessee, western Kentucky to southern Illinois. It's a big, huge monster of a fault zone. 1968 Illinois earthquake. Wow. Let's pull you up on this so you guys can see this. This is interesting stuff. Never knew about this. 1968 Illinois earthquake was the largest recorded earthquake in the U.S. Midwestern state of Illinois. And sure enough, you see that little red spot? If you guys can see this, let me make sure you guys can see. Okay. This little tiny red spot right there. Like I said, where all these rivers connect, I mean, that's close to it. That's right on the bottom of Illinois and Indiana, but that's the general area. The fault line runs right through that river. Now, they say that if we had another one of these, all the rivers would go right down into the hole that's created there, and that the entirety of the Mississippi would dry up. Now, I'm not saying this is true. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying that you have the two solar eclipses. The one already went one way and the other one's coming the other way, and they make a nice big X right there. I am preparing for the absolute worst when this happens, because this was a thing. This was an absolute thing that they said that they say is coming. Now, that's just a possibility. I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems to track with what these verses are saying. Let me read through it again. The Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. That sounds like an earthquake. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Which we find so many buildings that are melted now too. Now set Egyptians against Egyptians, everybody, there will be like a civil war, and the spirit shall fail in the midst thereof, and they will seek the idols. And he will give the Egyptians over into the hand of a cruel lord, and the waters shall fail from the sea, and the water shall be wasted and dried up, and they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up, the reeds and flags shall wither. I don't know. We're just pointing this stuff out. Now, it could very well mean the actual Egypt. Hey, that's possible. You know, I don't really understand why God would need to go back and kill all the idols again, whatever idols are left, but yeah, it is what it is. Again, Egypt isn't really doing much. They're just kind of out there. Do they have... Is Egypt even on a world stage anymore? Are they really like, you know, are they playing like the... Look at the news. What does the news say? Egypt's economy seen growing steadily over the next 3 years. Hey, well, maybe maybe there's something going on. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're building up. Maybe they're building up. Maybe it's something that's coming in the future. You know, maybe Egypt will come back into power enough that we can worry about them again. Either way, this is some very interesting stuff. Stuff we should probably watch out for. All right, let's keep going. Verse 7. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. That's just another one of those that the water is going to go away. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, and they that weave networks shall be confounded. What is a network? I'm going to guess it's probably the way they that weave cloths. Networks, white cloths. Huh. They that weave white cloths. I just find that interesting that networks, what we call television networks. It's like the white cloth over your eyes. Just saying. And they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, all that make sluices and ponds for fish. They shall be broken in the purposes thereof. All that make sluices and ponds. All right. So something's happening there. This is end times prophecy. Just remember this. So is this something that's coming? That's going to happen? Is Egypt the little land with the pyramids? Are they going to get this? Is Little Egypt the Midwest America with the American Nile that has all the cities down it that have Egyptian names? Are they going to get it? Is Cairo going to get it? Because the solar eclipses mark a perfect X right over top of Cairo, Illinois. Are they going to get it? Or has Egypt already gotten this? Has this already happened? Has the water dried up in Egypt that caused it to become a sandy, barren waste? It's interesting, tricky stuff. Again, it's things to think about. This works 3 different ways. I don't know which one's true. I don't know which one's 100% true. Because it's hard to really understand because our history is so messed up. You have to remember that the devil doesn't play fair. And he has gone out of his way in order to hide everything from us. So we can't know for sure. We can go by the Bible. And we can say, well, we're looking out for this, we're looking out for this, we're looking out for this, we're looking out for that. But unless we were told this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, how are we going to know that we haven't already missed it? Because the devil's had a long time to hide a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying anything is 100%. All I'm saying is it's interesting. It's interesting to think about. I'm preparing myself for anything either way. Because I don't know. I'm preparing for the fact that this may not happen in our lifetime. We may not see this great tribulation in our lifetime. Just because it looks like things are falling apart doesn't mean it's going to fall apart. The only set timeline we're on is God's set timeline, and no one knows the day or the hour but Him. So all we can do is just keep our eyes open, try to help people, try to save people. That's what I'm trying to do. So I don't know. I don't know how else to say it other than that. Let's keep going though. Verse 11. Surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt. Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt. Let them know what's coming. The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof. Just for fun, Zoan is a place of departure. It's an ancient city of Lower Egypt called Tanis by the Greeks. Tanis, there's a Tanis down the line in the Mississippi River. I can't remember exactly where it was. Noph is presentability, another name for Memphis, the capital city of Egypt. Memphis, Tennessee. The princes of Zoan, of Tanis, the princes of Tanis are become fools. The princes of Noph, Memphis, are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even that they are the stay of the tribes thereof. 14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. That's lovely. But, again, that last verse and this verse, they have seduced Egypt. He has mingled a perverse spirit. The princes of Noph are deceived. There is a lie traveling through Egypt. There is a lie, a deception, a perverse spirit that has caused them to err in every work thereof, that has caused them, everything they touch turns to garbage because they cannot find the true way, because they have lost their way. They've lost any kind of ethical logic and reason to anything. They are falling apart. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear, because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Every one that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he hath determined against it. Now again, the rivers will dry up. There will be a great shaking. The monuments shall be moved. The people shall run to their idols and their false gods. The rulers, the powers thereof, shall be deceived, shall be fooled. There will be an evil spirit that runs through it. There will be no work. Everything that Egypt will do will fail. There will be no work for them to do. In that day, they shall all be afraid and fearful because of what's coming. And then in the end, Judah shall be a terror upon them. It will fail. The whole country will fail. The whole nation of Egypt, the whole country of Egypt will fail completely. There's this connection to America. I'm just saying. There's a connection there. There's a connection to the old Egypt of the past that completely got wiped off. That completely got wiped off the face of the earth. That ties together. This could very well be talking about the Egypt of modern day. Seems like they're starting to build themselves back up. Who knows? Who knows? But this is an Egypt that seems like at one point in time had its stuff in order. Now it's all completely fallen apart. I just pointing this stuff out. Verse 18. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan and swear to the Lord of hosts. One shall be called the city of destruction. That whole phrase right there. 5 cities in the land of Egypt shall speak the language of Canaan. Something to it. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. Now this is something that has been talked about before. A pillar at the border. This goes along with they talk about the what was it exactly? Like a cornerstone, or like it was somewhere else down the line. I cannot remember exactly where it was. They were talking about the cornerstone of the world or something, and a lot of people were alluding to the fact that, it's interesting that the pyramids line up perfectly with this point halfway between the world. I don't remember exactly how it works, but it's like the latitude and the longitude of it. If you cut the world into quarters or something, it lines up right dead smack in the middle of them or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. But a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And so, I know Rob Skiba talked about it for a while. I never really I wanted to ask him. A monument with an altar. I always wanted to ask him. Because before he became a flat earther, he was looking into the Great Pyramid of Egypt, talking about how the pyramid was, so long, so tall, so wide, whatever, and how it lined up with the calendar, lined up with all this other stuff. And I always wanted to ask him, well, what do you think now, going back to it? He was talking about that stuff back in like 2014. By 2016, he was a flat earther. He was thinking about other stuff. But it was still, what do you think about the pyramids now? But he was one of the ones that was talking about the pyramids being this cornerstone of the world. That there will be this coming back to the cornerstone of the world. I don't remember exactly what it was now, like I said. But when I hear that pillar at the border thereof, because again, Rob Skiba thought, and other people have thought as well, that the pyramids were made as an altar to the Lord. They weren't just made to be tombs, because we know they're not tombs, because there was never actually any bodies found inside the pyramids. But they were talking about being an altar, either an altar or an energy source. We don't know. There's a lot of speculation out there. A lot of people have a lot of different theories. But that is interesting that's in here. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. Of course, the border of Egypt being Cairo. I don't know. I'm just throwing out there what I know. Maybe somebody can put it together and see what they get. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a Savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. But wait, this is end time prophecies. They're talking about sacrifices and oblations. I thought the sacrifices and oblations were ended with Christ. What is this? Is this end time prophecy? What are we doing here? Anyone? I'm not saying we have to keep the law. I'm just saying that it sure is a lot of talk about the law after the fact. I'm just saying. And the Lord shall smite Egypt. He shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them. Well, amen to that. Again, I'm not going to say that we should be going out and killing animals and doing sacrifices and all that stuff. But every time I turn around while I'm reading the Bible and they talk about the end time stuff or something that's supposed to happen later or something that's coming down the line, it always seems like all the things that normal Christianity said is not supposed to happen is happening. So what is it? This is part of the learning process. Is what does this mean? Why does this mean this? Now, again, if I took this to anybody, especially if I took it to somebody that was, learned in Bible scholars or learned in Bible studies, if they're a Bible scholar, they would say, well, that's already happened. That was something that happened in the past. This whole thing happened in the past. Okay, but how? When? Because according to this is supposed to happen in the end of days. This is something that's coming at the end of time. This is something when the Lord comes upon a swift cloud. I thought that's what this was. This is something that happened before all that? This is something that happened way before that? Is that what this is? The entirety of Egypt shall be taken over and run? There's something else going on here. What does this mean? He shall give them a Savior, and then they shall do sacrifice and oblation. After Egypt gets taken down, taken apart, and that the Egyptians get moved out, and what? The rivers run dry, and all this other stuff, and the monuments are moved, and there's great fire and famine, and what? Is this talking about Moses? What is this? Is this talking about Moses? How does this work? And if this was Moses, did all this stuff happen before Moses came, the Savior? There's something else going on here. If we're going to take this book literally, there's something else going on here that we need to start recognizing. Does the law only work for Egypt? Because when it comes time for all of this to happen, are they the only ones that have to worry about the sacrifice and oblation? Do they have to make up for the years upon years upon years that they had to do it? Well, someone help me out. I need to know. In verse 23, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Syria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt my people, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel mine inheritance. So, after they come back, they do their sacrifices and oblations. They shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it, which is the law. And the Lord shall smite Egypt, and he shall smite and heal it. And they shall return even unto the Lord. After that, the Egyptians and the Assyrians and the Israelites shall all come together, and the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Egypt is my people, Syria is the work of my lands, and Israel is mine inheritance. What's going on there? I'm just... You want to talk about big stuff. Now I almost want to go see what old dude was talking about with this kind of stuff, since he's doing his, Isaiah study that I can listen to, but I'd have to take like 5 grains of salt to be able to, understand some of it. But this, I don't know, man. I'm going to be mulling over this one all day. This is one of those ones that I'm going to be like, what does this mean? Father, give me understanding on this, because man, there's a lot to unpack on that one, There is a lot to unpack on that one. Has it already happened? Was it something that happened in the past? Was it something that is going to happen to the Egypt that we know in Africa? Is it something that's going to happen to the Egypt that we know in America? There are so many questions now. So many questions. Will the Egyptians have to be tied to the law? They shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. I don't know. I'm looking at something else here. All right, so here's some interesting things. So there is a connection. It says right here, there's a footnote. The one, 1921, and the Lord shall be known unto Egypt, shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. It says Malachi 1:11. Let's go read this bad boy. Malachi 1:11, for from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles, and in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering. For my name shall be great among the heathen, saith the Lord of hosts. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering. And a pure offering shall be given unto my name, an offering of a sacrifice. And incense is what you're supposed to do. That's part of the law. Among the Gentiles, for my name shall be great among the heathen. This is not helping. This is not helping me. Actually, it is helping me. So anyways, shall be great among the Gentiles. So, yeah, somewhere along the line, the Egyptians shall be doing sacrifices and oblation, and Malachi says that the Gentiles shall be doing incense in all places and offering pure offerings. So, anyways, I mean, I've always been one of those that has said, Christ was the perfect sacrifice. He was the one that came. We don't have to make sacrifices anymore because he absolutely fulfilled that. He took on everybody's sins so that he could cleanse us all. That was how he fulfilled that law. He didn't break the law. He fulfilled it. There's pretty much been nothing after that fact that has said, we don't have to, we are not supposed to give up on the law. As even Christ's disciples after he died were still going to the altar or still going to the temples and making sacrifices. So maybe there is nothing that we know to be true. This goes along with one of those other things. I've heard it before that somebody has said that, the Gentiles don't have to worry about anything. The Gentiles just have to exist. It even says, I think it was Paul, because Paul was talking to the Corinthians or the Thessalonians. I think it was one of the two that he was saying, all you really have to worry about is just trying to do your best. Don't get too muddled up into the law. That, all you have to do is try to work your way through it and just keep clean. Don't be fornicators. Some other things too. I can't remember exactly what it is now, but some people have said, well, that's all the Gentiles have to do is they just have to follow that and be good. They'll be fine. But that's not what we're reading. It's just not what we're reading. The Egyptians shall know sacrifice and oblation. They will vow a vow. And then Egypt will be his people. Blessed be Egypt, my people. And Assyria was the work of my hands, because this was whenever he was making Assyria to run through the lands. And Israel shall be mine inheritance, which his inheritance is always Israel, because he chose them to be his inheritance. This is something worth meditating on, and I am definitely going to be thinking about this for most of the day, because I need answers now. I need some serious answers. I'm sure that there are people out there that are probably going to say, well, this is this, and this is this, and that is that, and you're probably not following the right teachings, and you probably should have a teacher to tell you how to do this, and you should probably do this and look into this more. And yes, I should probably look into this more. That's what I'm going to do, because this right here, this is kind of heavy. This is heavy. Don't tell me that sacrifices and laws are dead if we're talking about Egypt doing sacrifices and the law in the last days. Don't tell me that the Gentiles don't have to worry about it if Malachi is saying that the Gentiles will be burning incense and making pure oblation. What? I got a whole weekend to figure this one out. So you guys take it easy. Stay safe. I love you all. And I'm not trying to... Man, I'm not trying to sway anybody off anything. I'm really not. I am looking for answers. Looking for answers. I've been asking the Father for years now to give me the truth, to give me the understanding of His Word. And this right here, taken with other things, just, I don't know. That's something I am definitely going to have to, I'm going to have to go meditate on. So I shall talk to you guys later. God bless every single one of you. I shall talk to y'all on Monday, if not sooner. If I figure something else, if I figure something out and I'm like, oh, I gotta tell you guys this, then you'll definitely be hearing from me. But you just don't know, you know? It's just, it's a lot. I was not prepared for this. I was prepared for a lot of other stuff today, but I definitely was not prepared for this to shake me this much. So I don't know. All right, I shall talk to you guys later. Take it easy.